Howdy. In today's video, we are going to be talking about priming. What is priming? What is a primer? What is the point of it? Should I do it? This is more targeted at newer players because I'm sure most people that have playing this game or have been playing this game for a fairly long time are going to already know what this is, obviously. But for people that don't know, that want to know why do people keep saying you gotta have a primer or whatever, this is for you specifically. So let's get right into the down and dirty stuff. And for that, it would be easier to be in the simulacrum. So there we go. And here we are into the simulacrum. So priming is basically applying statuses, usually, though it can be other than statuses like abilities, quotation marks, I guess. But usually priming is referred to as using your weapons or something to apply statuses. And the purpose of it is to make enemies easier to kill. And there are several ways to do that because there's several different status effects. So the first and most important of any of the ones that you're going to hear about is viral, all right? Viral damage is very important. Now, how viral works is you can apply a total of 10 stacks of viral. You cannot go past the cap of 10. And the first stack of viral makes the enemy take 100% more damage to their health. Every subsequent stack will be another 25%, all the way up to 10 stacks for a 325% damage increase to their health bar alone. And the reason this is so good is that, well, every enemy has a health bar, right? So you're going to be doing significantly more damage to those enemies. And you want to be able to put this on. You can, of course, run viral on your weapon if you want to, the one that you kill stuff with. So, like, let's say I'm using the Ignis, right? This is a pretty snazzy weapon a lot of newer players will use. Let's say I have the Ignis and I want viral to make the enemy take damage. But, well, you know, then I'm going to have to put it on. So that means we have to take up the mod slots to do it. So in a build like this one right here, we would probably replace Rifle Elementalist and we replace Thermite rounds. Well, now we have viral, yes, but there's a problem. And that would be the status weighting. When a status is applied, or when you shoot, rather, a status has a chance to be applied based off of your status chance. So when there's one tick of damage, there is if you have a, let's say, 50% base status chance, or then you have a 50% chance of applying that status that's on the weapon. But that's if there's one status. Let's say there are two statuses or elements on the weapon, okay? Heat and viral. And you have 100 heat and 100 viral, they're the same value, and you have 50% status chance. Then when a tick of damage occurs, there's a 50% chance to apply status again, but then that status has a 50% chance of being a heat proc and a 50% chance of being a viral proc. So the higher the damage value or the number it shows in your weighting here will affect the chances of which status is applied. So let's say you have 100 viral, or 90 viral actually, and 10 heat. Then when a status is applied, there is a 90% chance for it to be viral and a 10% chance for it to be heat, which is unfortunate because let's say you hit 10 viral procs already, okay? Well, then every time you get another viral status proc over and over and over, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to refresh the duration, which really, if the enemy's not dead by the time the viral duration runs out, you're doing something wrong. So it would be much better to have other procs that aren't going to cap out, that aren't going to be a waste. Or you could even build not just for, like, if you ignore the weighting in general, you could build for more damage on the weapon instead. So you save yourself from losing damage. So it's easier if you can get viral on the enemy from another source and then run more normal damage mods on your weapon, like this. So you would run a primary if you're killing stuff with a melee or a secondary or a melee or something. That would be your primer. And the sole purpose of a primer is to apply status effects. Now, other than viral, there are a couple other ways of priming, or uses to it. You can prime, quotation marks, with corrosive to strip enemy armor. Now, I'm not personally a very big fan of this because I don't feel like it's really worth it. There's better ways to strip enemy armor, and you do need quite a few procs of corrosive to get the max bonus, right? It's 10 just like viral, though it's less valuable at lower ends of procs than viral is, but it's still there if you want to do it for armor strip. You can also prime by using heat because of heat inherit. Now, I'm not going to go into detail of how heat inherit works, but it is a thing, and you should do it if you're going for a heat build that needs some extra damage, or you just want to maximize your damage. So that's important. Other than the status procs themselves, or what they are, you can also prime for the sake of having more status procs in general, regardless of what they are. If I'm using a weapon that has condition overload for a gun or a melee, whatever you want to call it. Now, CO is what's referred to, right? Gun CO or just CO. It's called galvanized aptitude on primary weapons. Like, you can see right here, it's galvanized savvy for shotguns and it is galvanized shot for secondaries. And it's called condition overload on melee weapons, but people call it CO. So gun CO. You get bonus damage for every unique status type affecting the target. So if we are at the max stacks of 2 stacks here, that's 80% damage for every unique status on the enemy. Well, this weapon, let's say I'm in my Incarnate form, the only statuses I can apply with my Incarnate form are Blast, Puncture, Slash, or Impact. But with how low the weighting is, we're really never actually going to get Impact, and Slash is pretty much never going to happen, so we really just have Blast and Puncture. That's only 2 statuses, that's 160% damage. Yes, that's a nice damage increase, but if we had more statuses on the enemy, we would get more damage. So let's say we raised the Blast and Puncture up to higher numbers of them by priming with our Epitaph. So if I decide to slap on Epitaph and I shoot them and it applies heat and viral, and Epitaph itself has forced cold procs, okay, that is going to be another 3 procs on the enemy, 3 unique statuses, which is another 240% damage increase, putting us at a fat 400% damage increase. That is more than double the damage increase we were doing without priming them for more statuses, and that's just for having statuses. That's not taking into account what the statuses themselves do, just the fact that it's another unique status on the enemy. Alright, hopefully you're following so far. Pretty straightforward. You just want either like viral and stuff on the enemy or just a crap ton of statuses. You don't always need to prime. There's a lot of stuff in this game that kills just fine without it, but there are some setups or weapons or frames where priming is more important than you would hope or think. Now, for ways you can prime, there are really infinite weapons you can use, right? You can use anything you want, technically speaking, but there's obviously going to be ones that are really good and ones that are really bad at it. For primary weapons, if you are going to be priming enemies, stuff that works really well would actually be Ignis. I know nobody uses this, but it has decent status, infinite body punch through, shoots fast, it's a beam weapon. It works decently well for priming enemies. Really, most AoE beam weapons are going to work well like that, despite people saying that they might not. Comrex is a good primer because it has viral procs automatically on the charge fire with an explosion, so that's good. Lots of the Incarnons with explosions can prime. The explosive weapons from like the Kuva stuff are okay at them, sort of, but also not really. You can use the whatever this thing is. What is it? Spore Lacer. Spore Lacer is pretty good for priming. Bubonico is amazing. It has viral on the alt fire and huge AoE. That's a very good weapon for priming. Zar can be used for priming. Trust me, bro. I made a video on it. Go look at it. It actually works and it's kind of funny. Try it out. Penta exists. Gorgon can work. It has forced heat procs, so you can do some funny stuff with heat inherit priming with that. Proboscis Cernos can group and prime stuff. That's a decent one. Those are the main ones for primaries, I'd say. For secondaries, which is usually what people prime with, these ones are much, much better, okay? Because we have some crazy stuff like the Compressa Compressor shoots a ton of bubbles with explosions with high status. This is status effects galore. And something else that secondaries have that you don't get access to on a primary weapon or anything else is secondary encumber. On status effects, there's a 24% chance to trigger a second random status effect. Now, regardless of what your multi-shot or status chances or RNG on your side, you can never proc this more than once in one shot. So let's say I have 1000% multi-shot and I shoot 11 shots and all of them have a guaranteed status proc, like 100% status chance. If one of them, like let's say bullet number 3, procs this, then the rest will not be able to proc it, okay? It's every single shot you do from the weapon, not counting multi-shot, is going to be able to proc this. And you can't proc multiple of them in a single shot if you have crazy stats, like 300% for multiple status effects, right? In a single instance of damage. Despite that, it is still very, very strong for applying tons of status effects, especially when used on a beam weapon. Other ones we have would be the Tenet Cyclone is a very, very good. The Ocucore kind of works. The new core is insanely good for priming. The, where is it? Epitaph, or now Epitaph Prime, is super good because it has a huge explosion AoE on the quick shot. It has forced cold procs to guarantee that status on enemies, and it has a very high status chance. Very, very good for priming enemies. Other ones would be pretty much anything that's explosives. You can kind of use Icarius Grimoire, but the ones I just listed are the main best ones for it. For melee weapons, good stuff for priming is anything that has electric at base or forced electric to slap melee influence on it, and then every other status you can think of. So Zorus is pretty good for priming. Telos Boltus has high stats chance and has grouping on its trait, so it's good for priming. Prisma Oma is fairly decent because it already has electricity on base. You can use that to prime stuff. You can, if you get kills, dual I-core kind of sort of, but this is more just going to kill stuff outright rather than priming it. Zenistar is pretty good for priming stuff. Gunblades are very, very good for priming stuff. Falcor, very good. Tenet Agendus is pretty good. Archititron, I find, actually does work for priming stuff on spamming the heavy slam. If you want to see a weird primer Archititron build or just a weird primers video in general, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do it. Okina works as a primer as well. These are just some of the melee weapons that work with it fairly decently. Now, my favorite way of priming stuff, and we have to talk about this, this is so important in the video, is companions. Companions are the best way to prime your enemies. They do all of the work for you while you do nothing, okay? You don't have to go out of your way to do anything. Now, let us put on a weapon that is going to be able to kill something first, okay? Let's do that. So we will slap on this right here, and here's what we have going on in the build. Now, if I come out and I spawn in these enemies, all right, simulates, and I come over here. We don't have stacks built up, keep that in mind. We start shooting these guys. You can see we're not really doing a whole lot of damage. I do have viral on this weapon, but we're not getting, like, we're definitely not hitting the max viral proc, so it's not going to make that big of a difference. Now, let's say we come back over here, and then we put on a companion like a Sentinel. Okay, you don't even have to have, like, one of the best Sentinels, like Nautilus Prime or Diarrhea or something. Any Sentinel will work. So, let's say we come down here, we slap on, like, Taxon, all right? Let's put Taxon on. Come into here. The main thing we want is assault mode. This is very, very important. Then we want something that can easily apply statuses. So AoE is good and high stats chance. The Hellstrom, which you can get the blueprint to craft from Fortuna. This thing is ridiculously good. It shoots multiple rockets, like 5 rockets at once that are heat-seeking and have explosions and high status. So then we use a build like this, all right? Lots of multi-shot, more AoE, more fire rate, extra status chance and stuff. And statuses, we have viral now and radiation. Very, very good. So now if we come back to these enemies, and my Taxon shoots it, look at that. Max viral procs already. That's pretty huge. And I would be doing more damage if RNG would actually get me a slash proc here. I did not pick a very good weapon to show off the power of priming here at all. So let's actually just switch to a better weapon to show this off. I don't know why I went with this thing. A better one to show off would be, say, I don't know, Amprex, right? Amprex should be pretty good, as I immediately fail to switch to the Amprex. So here we go. A corrosive blast build, and we've got Deadhead on the thing. So we will reset these enemies. Ooga. Booga. Like so. And now we shoot this guy. We obviously, again, don't have our stacks built up. But this is not amazing damage right now. But then we slap on our delicious companion again. Switch builds. We have the Hellstrom. And now we're going to be able to get all of our viral procs. So we come to this guy. He gets shot at. Now he's got max viral procs. And look, that is significantly more damage than before. And then, of course, you know, once we get our you know, all of our buffs going on the weapon from mods and stuff, it's going to kill everything just fine. Now, other reasons to go with viral from other sources, like your companions and stuff, other than like waiting on elements, is then you can build a different element. Like, if I put viral on my weapon, well, then I'm just using it for viral. But if I put viral on my companion and I get it for the bonus damage, then I could build blast on my weapon instead and get explosions everywhere for big AoE damage. Some really good companions for priming would be Nautilus, because it can pull stuff in and prime stuff. Diriga, because it has electric procs from one of its things. What is it called again? Arc Coil. Zap stuff. You want to pair this with Manifold Bonds. So if you need a video on that, I'd suggest looking it up. Manifold Bonds is very important for both Diriga and Nautilus. Panzervolpiphyla works extremely well, and so do Hounds. Hounds are very, very effective at applying a ton of statuses on the enemy. And then another one that's a little harder to get would be a Kubro type pet using the Mecha set. That's fairly decent for that. That's mostly it for priming stuff. You can get priming on your Warframe with statuses with a frame like Kome and her 4th ability, though there aren't a ton of frames that are made to prime enemies. There are some in the game, so like you do this and then look, they got tons of statuses. But that's pretty much it for the video. I just wanted to cover what priming was. This is I'm mostly just doing this because I want to be able to explain this to my friends and show them without, like, you know, explaining it all the time and trying to like share screen stuff. So now I can just send my own friends this video and maybe they'll understand it. Looking at you, Choo Choo and Senpai. Anyways, if this video helped you at all, then maybe leave a like or subscribe. That's gonna do it. Adios.